Live once again here on the Cowboys Report, as we are on Thursdays. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris behind the scenes on today's show. We will discuss the latest Dallas Morning News article on Dak Prescott, written by David Moore, which certainly makes it seem like the Cowboys have a plan of attack here for their quarterback, maybe with accusations of being the mouthpiece, whatever. We'll get to that here. And we have a super chat already coming in here on today's show. Zeno saying $10 into our super chat raffle, which we'll break down here momentarily more in depth. It truly amazes me how people that say get rid of Dak because he's not won a Super Bowl. Do you realize the amount of quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl that are still playing aren't many? It's Mahomes. It's Nick Foles still around. Technically speaking, does Carson Wentz count as the backup there? It's Mahomes. It's Rodgers. It's Wilson, and list gets pretty short, real quick from that perspective. Turns out, unless you have Mahomes or Brady, you're going to be lucky to get one of them. That's how it tends to go there. We'll spend some time on this as part of today's show. But do you want Dak Prescott as the Cowboys quarterback? Y for yes, N for no. 74% say yes, 75% say yes, 25% say no. What my mind says at this stage is pick one of them. And then, frankly, the money doesn't matter. With the way you are able to structure, it doesn't really matter all that much. It matters a little bit, sure, but we're not talking, 55 versus 25 here. We're not talking, 50 versus 40 when we're going to pay Daniel Jones that money. That is part of the conversation, because my concern here is the Cowboys are going to want to pick option C. Michael says, how about winning at least 2 playoff games? Well, he does have 2 playoff wins. And also, you do need better playoff results in general. I think we would all agree with that. Obviously, team sport. Also, I hate the stat of he was this record in the postseason. It's the worst winning percentage. We've already cut off all of the bad quarterbacks. We're kind of being he is only the 10th best top 10 quarterback. That's terrible. But is it? We've narrowed the pool down so significantly that it kind of defeats the purpose of, he's the worst Hall of Famer ever. Okay. It's kind of the opposite of he's the tallest short person type of we've already raised the bar so high that we're agreeing he's actually really good and using that as an argument he's not good. That part's kind of weird to me. Knowing he needs more playoff wins. The team. And that's part of the whole, it's been nearly 30 years since playoff success, and fair or not, this current team is kind of taking the brunt of the blame there. Now, we do have the Super Chat menu for you guys today. This is for the month of February. Because we're going to be at the Combine this upcoming Monday traveling there, not sure we'll have the live Monday show, which means we might look to delay and keep this open an extra week depending on timing, etc. So $10, Bob Lilly mini helmet entry. Zeno got that one in there. He already got the 2-for-1 with his $10 Super Chat, so we appreciate that, Zeno. $50, the Beer Bong Hall of Fame. Only once so far this month. Kind of funny. I can now drink on normal live shows and not be too jeopardized from that perspective. Most 50s gets a custom jersey. Right now, only Cowboy 85 has it with 1. So 2 50s today would give you the lead, with the clock almost out on that front. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big concert, comedy. My wife went to Drake recently, used Game Time for it. And, of course, sporting events, if there's a down the road MLB, NHL, NBA near you guys. Make note, we don't get that many of them you get to see. There are some zone deals going on for upcoming Mavs games. Zone deals, pretty straightforward. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats. On average of 18% saving. The one available as of filming, and I'm sure it won't stay too long from that perspective, but for the Mavs-Pacers game is actually 20% off. Love Zone deals are saving you money to go to your next big sporting event, plus you can watch Luka ball out. Go to GameTime.co and use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. But create your account and use code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off over at Game Time. It's not just zone deals. They've got flash deals. You can see it there for the Stars game. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So let's talk free agent running backs here. Pick one to sign. SB for Saquon Barkley, JJ for Josh Jacobs. If you could sign one of those two, assuming the money ends up being fairly similar, which one would you rather go out and acquire? SB. Let's see. Rashard Lee wants Saquon. Anthony says neither. That's fine. I don't really want to pay big money to a back anyway. I think they're too dependent on others. Michael says SB. Hosea Hill says Josh Jacobs. I almost said Jerry Jones. Ain't nobody want that. D. Garcia says DH. He's writing in Derrick Henry. That's fine. SB, JJ. JJ, SB. Two good rookies. Okay, down with that one. Another write-in for Derrick Henry. Saquon, Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Wayne's now typing in Tony Romo. I see Josh Allen. Okay. I'm not sure what we're going for with all the different quarterbacks being mentioned. I'm probably started a different conversation from Dak when we were doing the Game Time mention. Not Jeremy Chugs is also writing in Ezekiel Elliott. So, because I want a 3.4 yard per carry back, baby. Jerry Jones, or Josh Jacobs, Saquon, Derrick Henry. A lot of those. Prime Adrian Peterson. Well, I want to win the lottery too. Wouldn't that be nice? We will also run through some surprise cut candidates on today's show. So with that in mind, name a player who you would like to see the Dallas Cowboys cut. Now, we're going to do surprise candidates, so you can write in Michael Gallup here. That is fine with me. Gallup is not eligible. That's too obvious. I'd be surprised if he wasn't cut by the Dallas Cowboys. So player you would like to see cut. I see, Wayne wants to cut me. Okay. Or maybe he's talking about the quarterbacks. He thinks I'd be better. My arm sucks. I see Gallup. Tank Lawrence is in there. Gallup. J-Ron Kirk. He's a free agent, so good news. Don't have to cut him there. Some Dak Prescott write-ins. Well, now Wayne says me again, so I think he does want to cut me. Terrence Steele is in there. Tyron Smith is a free agent as well, Kevin, so you can just not bring him back. Not Jeremy Chugs' burner says Josh Ball. There you go. Gallup is in there again. Gallup is in there neither. I think that's for the running back conversation. Tank, Gallup, Jordan Lewis, Neville Gallimore, also free agents who I'm not sure they'll be back, by the way. So I think you'd be in okay shape there. Gabe says the head coach. That is the path I would have pursued, but we're past that point of no return for this year, at least. Peyton Hendershot in there as well. Now, Giants Now has kicked our butt on Super Chats on live shows so far this week. We're up to 72 now with the $10 coming in from Zeno today. I would like to catch the Giants because I don't like them. You can always spam F. Marshy in the comment section. And it's always fun to not let them have any nice things, just like the Cowboys do on the football field when playing them. But it's up to you guys to make that happen. Again, the Super Chat menu for this month, every $10 super, today counts 2 for 1, gets you into our Bob Lilly signed mini helmet raffle. Every $10 gets you 2 entries there. $50, I'm allowed to drink. And you know what? For today only, we'll make them jungle bongs. We'll do the beer bong and pour some whiskey in there as well. You go on the kind of like the beer helmet of honor. Beer bong of honor will put your name or initials if it's a longer name. You probably just put like Zeno on there, for example. It says Cowboy 85 on the first one there. The most 50s this month, by the way, is going to get a custom Cowboys jersey. Sorry, I was laughing at Yeshua, who says, I spent all my money betting the Cowboys to win. I don't have any money left. Regular season, it's a great bet. Playoff time for the past 28 years, you're going to be below the poverty line. All right, the bosses have also said our likes are a little bit too low this month. So help us out by liking today's video. We've got 250 people watching live right now, or 250. That kind of sounded weird otherwise. We're not even to 50 likes. It's very, makes me feel bad, frankly. So help us out. Like today's video right now. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We'll break down some free agency and Dak talk, surprise cut candidates, plus, of course, a mailbag. 2 ways to get on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys. I see Nate got one in there. That's a hell of a question, Nate, the one that I see. I don't even know who was on the Disney show kicking it. I have no idea who was on there. Couldn't tell you. I'm guessing that one's not going to get on with producer Chris picking, but hey, it's funny at least. Or you can super chat, skip the line altogether. We will also do a 7-round Cowboys mock draft with trades for you guys today, because that's fun. And we'll explore some trade up and trade down scenarios throughout that video as well. All that's coming up live right here on the Cowboys Report. In addition to some Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley free agency talk, we're going to spend a lot of time on the Dak Prescott contract situation. You've probably seen some maybe outlandish numbers, maybe some propaganda from both sides put out there. I think we break down the pros and cons of this contract situation pretty well in today's video. So help us out by sharing the video to your other Cowboys friends. As it's been every year of his career, because that's what it goes along with being the Cowboys quarterback, an extension for Dak Prescott remains fairly controversial. The latest, column, I'll call it, from David Moore, the Dallas Morning News, maybe showcases the Cowboys' thoughts, given the fact there are plenty of accusations out there that David Moore is often a mouthpiece for the Joneses, specifically Steven, in the organization. Here's what David wrote Thursday morning. The question the Cowboys face isn't whether the organization wants Dak Prescott to remain their quarterback into the future. It does. The question whether the club can reconcile what it will cost to go forward with a quarterback who has been unable to lead the team past the divisional round of the playoffs, that's a more complicated discussion. To be frank, no, it's not. And I will dispute that point many, many times here. If you think Dak is the guy you want as your franchise quarterback, then you probably need to get it done now. Otherwise, you're doing the exact same mistake you made last time of letting it go far too long and losing every negotiating point when you could have saved yourself significant money previously. I'm sure you've seen those 60 million reports out there. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. In the end, your quarterback has all the leverage because you can't tag him. And spoiler alert, second team all-pros at quarterback don't ever hit the open market. That's pretty much unheard of. The 60 million, I honestly think it's because 60 sounds sexier than 56. 56 would make Dak the highest paid quarterback, which he's technically tied for 10th now on that list. Because you can wind back the clock to anyone who's talking contract stuff around any quarterback the past 7 years. The quarterback market only goes up. It continues to rise. It is the most important position. It's not the only reason why you're going to win games or lose games, and it is still a team sport at the end. But when you have a top 10 quarterback, and we have to start the conversation there, we can't be having this Dak is actually terrible, trade him for 2 first-round picks conversation. We have to be able to start at the same grounds of he's a top 10 quarterback. And getting one of those is the hard part. We can justifiably be upset with the slow starts in the playoffs, the lack of overall team success in the postseason, not just in Dak's tenure, but this entire Cowboys franchise the past nearly 30 years now. And in the end, your quarterback has all the leverage in these negotiations. And it just kind of sounds like some of this reporting or column writing, whatever, is the Cowboys know that a little bit and are trying to angle, well, we have another card we can play, which we'll get into and would not be a good card to play. So, before we move on here, do you want Dak Prescott as the Cowboys QB? Based on previous live polls, I'd guess this is going to be around 75% yes, but sound off. Y for yes, N for no at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, the kind of speculative angle I'm looking at here from David Moore is it says the Cowboys are considering just restructuring the Dak Prescott contract. They have void years built in. They can kick that can down the road a little bit if they want to, which they can do, although I'm not sure this is a very good idea. Dak's cap hit right now is $59.46 million. You don't want that figure that high. You're not going to be able to build the caliber of team for, I would argue, almost any quarterback, even Mahomes, who did play with a pretty high cap hit this past year, at that figure. Certainly not Dak Prescott. The restructured cap hit brings down to $37.6 million. The dead money, though, would then be $58 in 2025, so basically flipping the dead money and the cap hit this year versus next year. The problem is you have no control over keeping Dak Prescott then. And if you don't want to pay the quarterback after a second-team All-Pro season, does he want to be around at that stage? Here's what David Moore wrote. You can say the Cowboys must keep Prescott and sign him to an extension. You can land on the other side of the argument, i.e., move on from him. You can kick the can down the road for another season. Whatever stance you take, you should acknowledge this is a reasonable, responsible conversation. It's the conversation taking place right now at the Star. I do not acknowledge that as a reasonable, responsible conversation. In fact, I would argue kicking the can down the road is the least responsible thing this organization could do this offseason. You need to make your decision. You have more than enough evidence on either side of that debate to make up your mind. You have two viable options here. Option one, pay him and be aggressive. Set up a new 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever year window it is. It's not going to be 10, by the way. I think Steve might have said that once, which was ludicrous. Pay him, be aggressive, actually sign somebody in free agency, and try to win games now. Or pull the ripcord, move on, and rebuild. Both of those options are far more desirable than the Dallas Cowboys trying to pursue a path of doing nothing and going, well, we'll just get the can down the road. That's not a good path. It's not a good idea. If you want to keep Dak Prescott, you cannot let him hit NFL free agency. Because that's what happens. You have no franchise tag, and you would be in a very unique spot of having a quarterback coming off, even if it's a similar year, let's say it's a Pro Bowl caliber year, a second-team All-Pro quarterback, still in the midst of his athletic prime, by the way, hitting the open market. Good quarterbacks, even close, not good, don't hit free agency. The closest we saw was the Commanders with Kirk Cousins, and they're still looking for a competent quarterback. If they could do it all over, they would have paid Kirk the first time because they would have been a playoff team. And Dak's better than Kirk Cousins is. We will come back to the money argument. There's understandable sticker shock involved here. More on that in a second. But today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to whatever next event you're going to. Sporting, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for that event. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They've also got zone deals, and good news, folks, there is a zone deal available, at least for now, as a film. We'll see how long that lasts. For an upcoming Pacers-Mavs game. On average, it saves you about 20 or 18% because Game Time picks the seat after you pick the section. That's 20% on the zone deal for the Mavs-Pacers game. They've also got flash deals, I can see there, for the Stars game. Save you some more money as well. And by the way, the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. That's code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's promo code CowboysChat over at GameTime.co. Now, my hot take here is the money difference shouldn't really matter in terms of what you're trying to pay Dak. If you get freaked out over the $60 million alleged number, or if you like, I can only pay him 55, whatever, or 53 or 52. The Cowboys actually do know how to structure these deals, despite the public pie posturing this organization might sometimes take with Stephen Jones. That has been shown time and time again with the way Dak Prescott's deal has been done. You paid him $40 million per year, and he hasn't even hit that figure on a per-year basis. The percentage of the cap taken up by season, Dak's deal, what he made per year on the cap, versus the salary cap figure that year. 2020's franchise tag was 15.8%. Significant, in part because of the COVID year caused some wonkiness with the numbers. 2021, 2022, 9.4, 9.5. 2023, 11.9%. The current cap hit is 24.5. I ain't doing that. This, by the way, is based on the 242.5 projected number. That could go up a little bit. Could be even 250. And now we're talking these numbers going down a little bit more. Restructures 15.5. Extensions 13.7. The number was you can't have 12%. That was the previous high. And then Mahomes kind of shattered that and blew right by it. As long as you're under that 16 maximum number, it's very doable. Again, the difference between those 9% figures and the 13% figures, that's your punter and your backup quarterback. Seriously, like that's the difference we're talking about here. So what you should do is this. When you have the franchise, the top 10 caliber quarterback, you keep the quarterback cap hits low as possible. And then you take that dead money hit when he's gone. And then you embrace the rebuild. And if you don't think Dak's the guy to get you, even though you acknowledge he's good, he's just not good enough for you, okay, that's fine with me. I can get where you're coming from, and that's a plan. Then you take the no trade clause, say, Dak, let's work out a deal for you. We'll trade you. We'll get whatever we get back. We're going to rebuild. Cool. That's option 2. Option 1 is extend him and go try to win games right now. If you want to win games right now, that is your path. And if you want to move on, okay, I get it. You want to try something else. Okay. Doing nothing, which kicking the can down the road, I think is a terrible, awful idea. I would rather move on. Of those 3 paths, which one would you take? E, M, or N in the comments. We'll talk free agency rumors now here at the running back spot. ESPN's Mike Tannenbaum, who 50-50 at best in some of his takes. So the Cowboys have to go after Saquon Barkley in NFL free agency because you can hurt the Giants in the process. Which, by the way, are any of us worried about the Giants at all? Anyway, Tannenbaum's argument is he'd be perfect. He can catch. He can run. I think his pass protection has actually gotten better. And based on the way Tony Pollard played, I think he would improve that position for the Cowboys in 2024. You know what's startling? The numbers don't look that different, do they? You got a few more carries for Pollard, more than enough yards to justify it. More catches, not the same efficiency through the air. More touchdowns for Saquon Barkley, of course. I think it's also evidence of, hey, you need to make sure that your offensive line and run scheme operates really well. Because if you just keep handing the ball off the middle to Pollard or Barkley, is that really going to work? And I do think Barkley's going to look for a bigger deal than what Pollard had in free agency. Because there is some draft pedigree that goes along here. Knowing, of course, that Barkley missed some time, but from an efficiency standpoint, very startlingly similar numbers there. The Jonathan Taylor number is the one to monitor. $14 million. He got that last midseason. I would bet Barkley's going to try to go after that figure. I don't want to pay him that because that's a lot of money for a running back that I'd rather spend on a defensive piece, a linebacker, or an offensive lineman and building out that area and going cheaper at that spot. Help us get to 185,000 subscribers here on the Cowboys Report. We're 281 away. That's it. Help us get there before time the Combine kicks off in just a few days. Now, the other big-time running back mentioned was Josh Jacobs. ESPN listed the Cowboys as the best landing spot for Jacobs in NFL free agency. So of these 2 ESPN-created ideas for Dallas, you have to pick one. Let's say they sign a team-friendly deal somehow. Pick one to sign because they both want top of the market money. SB for Saquon Barkley or JJ for Josh Jacobs. Now here was the argument from ESPN. With the expectation Pollard does not return, the Cowboys commit to Jacobs. He has been a volume grinder for the Raiders with low pad level to finish runs and the quickness to make defenders miss. Jacobs led the NFL in rushing in 2022. Could also be a receiving option for Dak Prescott on swings, screens, and unders. Here's my biggest concern with going for a guy like Josh Jacobs. We were all just finally disappointed by the drop-off in production from Pollard from 2022 to 2023. It was worse for Jacobs. Again, we can make the arguments about quarterback play and offensive line. Those are all very valid. I don't want to break the bank for one of these backs. In a deep free agent market, I think you can wait. I think you can find a cheaper veteran option who's not really going to, impact the cap in the same way and will be a little bit more affordable for you and still get relatively similar production in the short term, long term. So pick one to sign here, SB or JJ. It's very funny how this changes as the live show goes on. Early on, there was a lot of SBs in the comments section. Now, quite a few JJs in there. A couple of if not Henrys, which I appreciate too. Keep the comments coming. SB for Saquon Barkley or JJ for Josh Jacobs. Hopefully, I don't say Jerry Jones for the 4th or 5th time today. I'm not even drunk yet. Speaking of, you can make that happen. 2-for-1 deal of the day. Double the mini helmet entries for every $10 super chat. You put in 10, you are entered into our Bob Lilly signed mini helmet raffle. $50 for the beer bong. Same cost as the game days, but there's no game day, so I can now drink outside of those events. Most 50s in February. Right now, it's just one from Cowboy 85. Gets the custom jersey. Your choosing can be a name or a player. We'll get you set up on that front there. Speaking of supers, Ecuador man AOG coming through says Graham Barton and Edrin Cooper, that's Duke and A&M offensive line linebacker, or the West Virginia center and the NC State linebacker. It's a good question. I think I'd take door A. Frazier and Barton are very close for me, but talent-wise, Cooper and that's Peyton Wilson, the NC State linebacker, are also very close for me. The difference is for Cooper versus Wilson, Wilson has had double-digit surgeries. I don't know if I can justify another injured linebacker in round 2. Or if you get him in. Now, if I can get those guys, hint, in the 2nd and 3rd round, different conversation, that kind of feels like a bit unlikely there. The Super Chat battle this week against the Giants now. We are getting our butts kicked. We are way behind. They had a very big live show the other day. So help us get there. Hit that super button. We'll get to the mailbag here in a little bit as well. And again, supers only for the giveaways coming up throughout this week. Now, if we get to 188,000 subscribers before the end of the month, and it is rapidly approaching, we will give away a CD Lamb jersey. I don't know if we're going to get there. You got to tell your friends. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You guys are watching the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today we're doing some surprise cut candidates before NFL free agency starts, focusing on the more surprising names. Who here would be shocked if the Cowboys part ways with Michael Gallup and Leighton Vander Esch? Nobody. Exactly, right? So we'll break that down, but make sure you are subscribed. We will have updates for you all off-season long. News happens. There's going to be a video, sometimes multiple videos on that stuff, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button for me right now. First up on these surprise, but still feasible candidates, we're not going to put Tyler Smith on here, which would certainly be a surprise, is Tank Lawrence. $20.46 million cap hit. Speaking of contracts, you kind of lost some leverage on because you didn't handle it right the first time. He actually helped you out by taking a pay cut the last time his contract was kind of getting down there. Only $2.56 million in savings if you cut him right now. $10 million after June 1st, which you can't use until then. And you're also jeopardizing, one of your best run stoppers, if not your only reliable great run stopper, and still one of your best pass rushers. The sack numbers have not been very good for Tank Lawrence. The pressure rates, and if you want to try to do some films, then you splash plays, drive killers, sacks, pressures that lead to a throwaway on third downs, hits that lead to an incomplete pass or whatever, Lawrence actually grades out really, really well from that perspective. He's still a very good football player. But if you only want sacks, that's just not your guy. The other issue is, who's your starter if you part ways with Tank? Micah's one. Do we trust Sam Williams? We all make a big deal, understandably so and justifiably so, about the run stopping. Tank was like your one good run stopper along that defensive line, consistently game in and game out, even in the front seven. So I would much rather keep DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't know how much longer he's got left in the tank. He is getting a little bit up there in age, but I'm keeping him. What do you think? Y for yes, N for no. Now, this one keeps getting floated by outlets like Bleacher Report, and as of before, I hate it. But we can have the conversation on it since it is surprise cut candidates. $10 million cap hit for Brandon Cooks. Kind of surprisingly low, right? That's not that bad of a number at all. He took a pay cut when the Cowboys traded for him, by the way. $4 million savings right now, $8 million if you do it after June 1st. Again, you can't use it. With a poor receiver market, I don't think you're getting a better receiver than Cooks at $10 million a year. The numbers continue to decline, and Cooks is not the same guy he was in his prime. But the back half of the year, the Cowboys kind of figured something out with the Cooks and the routes and Dak and the chemistry there. So I feel good about Cooks. Plus, you don't have other speed at wide receiver if you part ways with him. I am open to cutting players, but when it creates a critical hole of like my second best receiver, my second best defensive end, and I have nobody else left, then I'm not looking to do that very much. So name a player who you want to cut. It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. When someone asked in the mailbag, who was your surprise cut candidate? I went, Damone Clark, maybe? I think this would be much more of a, we'll make this decision, come roster cut down time as opposed to now because he's super cheap. You don't save any real money cutting Damone Clark. The cap savings are basically the vet minimum. This would be a Mike Zimmer's come in. He's changed the defense for the better, and the instincts are still just not there for Damone Clark. And they've invested in so many linebackers in free agency in the draft. They've added 3 or 4 guys. They don't feel the need for Damone Clark anymore. I think that's, again, on the unlikely surprisery side. But I am worried about Damone Clark. I do think a move back to a more typical weak side linebacker role would be beneficial for him. I don't think he's the right guy to play that Mike linebacker role. I do think there's a chance he becomes better. And I'm by no means out on Damone Clark, but I am calling year 3 a make or break season for him. Leighton Vander Esch is the guy who is going to get cut or retired, I think, pretty decently likely there. Buddy Johnson's cut would surprise nobody. You're not going to cut to Marvin Overstone either. So if we're doing surprise cuts, this one certainly stands out. Now we have a Fanatics deal for you guys for a limited time only, and we'll see how long it lasts, maybe even just a day or so. The Cowboys NFL Jam shirts are on sale 25% off. It's the Dak CeeDee Lamb, the Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, or maybe you pine for the glory days. Troy Aikman, Michael, which is also much more thematically in line with the NFL Jam, since that's too old for producer Chris. Go to chatsports.com/CowboysJam. I've actually got one of these. It's an awesome shirt. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/CowboysJam. If you didn't want to cut the first 3 guys, maybe one of these next 3 makes some more sense. And you're going, the punter, Tom, you're on your special teams camp propaganda again. Maybe a little bit. Allow me to explain the hypothetical scenario where it could make some sense. Bryan Anger is one of the best punters in football. He's also one of the most expensive. $3.8 million cap hit in 2024. You'd save $3 million with a release. He's in the final year of his contract. But like I mentioned, Anger is actually a very good punter. In fact, is among the NFL's best. 44 punts this past season, an average of 51.4 total, and a net of just under 45. Basically numbers that equate to top 3 or fringe top 3 or even above that overall, except for the punts. The Cowboys had the fewest punts in the NFL, in 2023. Anger, meanwhile, set to have a top 3 cap hit at punter this upcoming season. Do you really need to pay a punter that figure? Now, the punter cap hits are already so low, you're maybe okay doing it for the 1 or 2 times every other game that you really, really want a good punt there. But, that is significant savings. It's $3 million. That's more than you'd save cutting Terrence Steele. Seems at least somewhat significant. So back to my propaganda. We do the kickers, people, but how about punters? Are they people? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Have some fun and sound off in the comments section. Peyton Hendershot is next up here. These last 2 names might be a little bit less surprising if they get cut, closer to roster cut time, but this is worth having the conversation because of the savings. You save all but $5,000 by cutting Peyton Hendershot. Rookie contracts are funny, aren't they? And I also put him on here because Hendershot had kind of emerged as the surprise cut candidate during last year's preseason. There was a point that he was getting left off some of our, roster projections. Other guys had emerged, and entering year 3, kind of a key offseason for him. He's shown some flashes. I think he's a better athlete than some of your other tight ends on the roster. But think about this tight end room. Jake Ferguson's not going anywhere. You're not cutting a second-round pick in Luke Schoonmaker already. That's not going to happen. Sean McEwen's a free agent. What I am curious here is what happens with John Stevens. John Stevens was trending towards sneaking his way onto the roster and, forcing Hendershot out. Then Stevens got hurt, tore his ACL. Is he going to be good to go again in time for week 1? I am not, maybe back to performance, back to play, 2 different conversations, as we've seen with other players, Steele, Gallup especially. And what happens if Dallas does spend a late day 3 pick on a tight end? They got some 7th rounders. They could take one there. All of a sudden, Hendershot's very much on that roster. Plus, he's clearly behind Ferguson, who is going to be your tight end 1. We put Josh Ball on here, but that's not a surprise. Let's go with Matt Waletzko instead. Again, kind of like Hendershot and Clark, probably makes more sense closer to roster cut down time. But the Cowboys in general don't like cutting draft picks. They try to give their guys as many chances as possible. And Waletzko, unfortunately, hasn't had many chances because he can't stay healthy. Despite being a fantastic athlete, part of the reason why he fell to where the Cowboys took him on day 3 was because of medical issues and concerns over his shoulders. He's had 2 surgeries already on those, or at least missed time because of those shoulder stuff. The flip side here is you don't often cut linemen that have good upside because you're thin enough as it is, but there's a real chance the Cowboys reinvest along the offensive line again, as I think all teams should do every single season on that O-line. They could see them invest in a tackle in round 1 and maybe even one on day 3. So there is maybe even some trade value there for Waletzko, given the draft pick status he was given. And I'm cutting Josh Ball way before I cut him, but it's a name to at least consider as we move forward. All right, so name a player who you want to cut. Sound off in the comment section for me right now. Who do you want to cut? This can be not just surprise, but anybody from there. All right. Food Review says Cooper Rush. That one would not be a surprise. Because the ideal outcome here is that Trey Lance wins your QB2 job. And you save some money with cutting Rush. Ooh, Sam Williams is on there. He maybe makes an appearance on our trade candidates video. Throw that one out there. Ball, Damone Clark, Gallup, Nashawn Wright. Can I trick Dan Quinn into giving up a 7th round pick for him? A future 7th 2 years from now? Gallup. Stubby's trolling, says Lamb. Food says Marquise Bell. I would just put Marquise Bell at safety again. I think that would be my path there. Nate says Tom Brady. What are you? He's just trolling. I love Nate. Cooper Rush in there again. Turpin. Maybe he should have been on that list, actually. That would have been a decent one to put on there. That would have been a decent one. Tolbert, I'd be surprised if he got cut. Damone Clark from Omaha Sand as well. All right, mailbag time on the show. Rebuild and Ecuador Man. We'll get to your other super chats as part of this mailbag coming up here in just a couple moments. But again, two ways. Hashtag Cowboys like food review just did, or super chat to get on the show. As a reminder, we are getting our butts kicked pretty bad. I think we're higher than 74 now. Should be at 79 or above that even. By Giants now. Did not go very well. Did not go very well at all. They're destroying us, and we are running out of time to get caught up. We got half the show left to go here. So help us out. Let's kick their butts off the field, just like the Cowboys do to the actual Giants on the field, with some super chats. We have a menu, again, for the month of February. We might extend it by one extra day because I'm not sure we'll do the live show on Monday, TBD there. $10, Bob Lilly signed mini helmet entry. $50 for the Cowboys beer bong of honor, and I'll chug a beer out of it. We'll make it a jungle bong. I'll put some alcohol in there as well. Most 50s in February is a custom jersey. Could be a player, could be your name, whatever. I think there are some rules on it can't be inappropriate because we can't get that ordered, but we'll get that happening for you. Again, $10 is a 2-for-1 mini helmet entry. Bob Lilly signed mini helmet, by the way. Today's show is made possible by 8 Sleep. I've always slept pretty well. My wife has not, and that's very important to have when you have a 2-year-old at home. 8 Sleep's Pod 3 cover brings heating and cooling tech that keeps you comfortable and sleeping deeper for a better, more restful night. Tell you more about them later on in today's show. $200 off the pod cover at 8sleep.com/chatsports. Now, we will probably not have our live show on Monday because we will be traveling to the NFL Combine up in Indianapolis. We will have Combine coverage for you here on the channel and also real-time updates on my Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. Hit me up there for Combine coverage, and of course, if you have any questions on the Cowboys or the general NFL as well. Zeno, it truly amazes me. And many people say, get rid of Dak because he's not won a Super Bowl. Do you realize the amount of quarterbacks who have a Super Bowl that are still playing aren't many? And once you take away the Mahomes-Brady, you're trying to get one, is what you're going for there. Ecuador Man AOG, Graham Barton, lineman from Duke, and Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker from A&M, or Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia, or NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson. I would lean Barton and Cooper. Frazier, Barton can go either way for me, frankly. Barton if you want the left guard, I suppose, and put Towers with the left tackle. Cooper over Wilson, similar talent levels, I believe, but Wilson's got double-digit surgeries already. Ecuador Man, what round for Xavier Leggett and Jalen Polk, the 2 receivers from South Carolina and Washington, and who do you like? Give me Jalen Polk. I think he's a bit underrated at this stage. Polk's going to be a round 2 for me. Leggett's going to be somewhere in that day 2 range. I'm a little bit anxious for how he tests. Fine, that's a little bit of a... I'm just curious how well he tests athletically. I think there's some upside there. Could it impress? Or I've seen guys like N'Keal Harry's similar body type not test the way I thought they should have and ended up not working out for them. A $10 super thanks from Richard Robinson. Who's QB2? Rush, Lance, or somebody else? The goal for the Cowboys, as it's been from the day they traded for him, is that the 2024 backup is Trey Lance. And frankly, he plays so well in the postseason, you can potentially move on from Cooper Rush. Now, you can have 3 quarterbacks, and you get that freebie to a certain extent for game day rosters. So maybe you add a UDFA or you release Rush and bring him back even cheaper as an option potentially there till he takes a pay cut. But you want Lance to win that quarterback 2 job and set yourself up to be a better, younger, more dynamic backup than just a kind of average bus driver in Rush. After all, Rush was a free agent 2 years ago, and there was not much interest in him. That's why the Cowboys got him so cheaply. So their goal is Lance emerges as quarterback 2 throughout this preseason. So who will be QB2? TL for Trey Lance, CR for Cooper Rush. It's the pinned comment on today's video. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Juan Ramos, who's the better running back for the Cowboys? Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, or Josh Jacobs? I would lean towards Henry. I think it'll be the cheapest of the trio. And if they really are committed to not changing their run scheme, which is going to be a huge mistake, I want the bigger battering ram guy. So I'd probably rank them Henry, Jacobs, and Barkley in that order. Joseph Ian Torres. If Jerry and the Cowboys are all in, I think you would extend Dak and give him weapons and build him a defense to go to Super Bowl run. No more of this halfway in type crap. This is where I am at. It's not that you have a bad team. You don't. You have a really good football team. You're just not good enough, and it's been that way for 28 years. The Cowboys haven't really been nearly as aggressive and all-in-y as other organizations have. At some point, you will have to rebuild. I would rather embrace that rebuild down the line, accept it for an extra year, or as opposed to, just 1 year, you can do it for 2 years, and try to be more aggressive right here and right now. From Vince, Chiefs have the best quarterback and know how to draft. How do you beat them with a more expensive Tier 3 quarterback? Rebuild. How are we defining Tier 3? Because that's important. Do we have Mahomes on his own tier? And then it's like the freakazoids, like Josh Allen's and maybe Lamar in there too, and then Dak, that's fine. As long as Tier 3 is still top 10. Like, at that point, that's fine. How do you beat them? The Niners should have beat them. Like, I think you can do it. Now, it's not going to be easy, but at the same time, if the plan is we rebuild and go find our own Mahomes, good luck. Like, I think that's going to be even more challenging and more likely by a big margin to lead to worse results. But it is a plan. The nice part is I'm in the NFC. So that's a big future issue. How do you beat the Niners? That's kind of my bigger priority because that's step one in the process there. But this is a viable plan. I would rather start the rebuild now than kick the can down the road and say, we'll see what changes happen by running it back and doing nothing. I would rather rebuild than just do the restructure thing. Now, did you know that sleep science shows in order to sleep our best, our body temperature needs to drop in the early and middle part of sleep and rise in the morning? You probably didn't know that because you're not a nerd. But the 8 Sleep Pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover is added to any bed like a fitted sheet and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. There is no better way to improve your day-to-day life than better sleep. I say that as a person with a 2-year-old at home who just wants dad's cuddles. The easy way to improve your sleep is with the 8 Sleep Pod 3. In addition to keeping your body temperature all night, the pod also tracks your sleep and health metrics. On average, pod users see their sleep quality improve by 32% after just a month on the pod. So go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Start the new year right and invest in the rest that you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. From Ollie to Booger. Am I saying that right? It's first time super chat, so thank you, Ollie. Restructure Dak. Let him have a lame duck year. I actually hate this idea. I move on then. We should know by now if we think we can win with Dak or not. And if you don't think you can, then let's tear the Band-Aid off and rebuild. Because restructuring Dak, doing the lame duck year thing, it's not going to work. And if it does work, well, now you're really in trouble. Because he's going to hit free agency. And he might be like, you didn't believe in me. So I'm out. There's no reason to do that. Either you believe in him or you don't. And if you don't, okay, then move on. If you do, then restructure. Same argument went for Mike McCarthy, by the way. And the Cowboys took the middle ground there, and I hated it. The Lunatic, how does Zim not burn out Tank? Tank was not being honest. If you guys have ever listened to any of the Tank Lawrence press conference interview stuff or just interview clips, he's very blunt and sometimes vulgar and will not shy away. The comments about, we were burnt out was, I'm just not going to say what I would normally say because I'm going to get in trouble. That was empty platitude excuse when they were not burnt out more than anybody else. They just played like crap. They weren't well prepared, and Tank didn't want to throw players or coaches under the bus. That's what that was. And in the end, he kind of jumped in front of the bus and he didn't jump in front of us. He stumbled, tripped, and fell in front of the bus. And that didn't go over very well, which nor should it have. From Spencer, is there a way the Cowboys can get Brock Bowers? I don't know. He does worse than the Bong video from Laramie Tunsil. I'm looking at teams like the Colts and the Bengals in the top 20 and being like, yeah, he ain't going to get past them. Do you want to trade up for, he's probably going to be a top 10, top 5 player on most people's boards. Great player. But yeah, you already have a good tight end in Jake Ferguson. I'm not trying to trade up for him. And if he does fall to you, it probably means something bad happened. And at that point, you probably don't want him. Who is your dream Cowboys draft target? So dream, you can put in Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt or Olu Foshun, whoever, or even Caleb Williams. Sound off for me in the comments section right now. Food review. It's pick 38-40. At 24, you picked insert offensive lineman, and my guy Kool-Aid McKinstry is on the board. Would you have to trade up and take him? Do you even want to trade up? In general, I don't like trading up. I like to have my draft picks, although this team can't draft in the second round very well either, so there you go. My concern here is that I actually like Kool-Aid a lot. If he doesn't test well and the speed concerns are real, that's how he could slide. Maybe you don't want to trade up for him. But if it's the same guy I think that he is and he's there somehow, pick 40, I'll package how about this? My 2 this year and my 2 next year. And I'll trade up to go get him. Because I can't draft with my 2s anyway. Eli Aaron, Leighton Vander Esch has got to go. Not because he's regressing, but his health comes first. I think this is the most likely outcome. He's got family considerations now. I think the neck's not going to hold up, so probably is the path they end up going. We will have tons of NFL Combine coverage for you right here on the channel. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Cowboys videos. Ecuador man, if Dak is so want to do the Wilson no trade deal. If that's the route you want to go, sure. Now, I think the big core difference there is there's probably more leverage from Dak's side than what Wilson had, because Wilson wasn't coming off a second-team All-Pro season, and maybe that means maybe Dak doesn't play hardball with you or plays hardball with you. That's a potential red flag there. Again, I would also, in general, I believe this path, if you can get all those assets for one player, maybe you shouldn't go down that path. But if rebuild is your strategy, work with him, figure out how to waive the no-trade clause, and move on. The downside here is, Russ was like, I don't care, I just want out of here. Downside is Dak could go, yeah, you can trade me, but I'm not going to let my new team give up a bunch of assets for you because I have the no-trade clause. So those are kind of the red flags you can potentially run into there. But if you want to rebuild, that is your path. Do it now instead of dragging your feet and doing nothing. Lunatic, do we know the Joneses are all in like it means? I don't think they are. Until they show it, I'm not doing it. I don't believe them. All in for them means we're going to re-sign Lamb and Micah and say our pie's taken up. It's not all in. If they thought the Eagles were all in last year, and they clearly weren't. So I don't think it means the same thing it does for us, and that's concerning. Martin, would you trade up in this year's draft? In general, I don't like trading up because I want picks, and I think volume matters. But I think a trade down could make some sense too, because you're also super light on picks more than most years, making it even more challenging. What would you rather do? D for trade down, U for trade up. Sound off in the comment section for me right now. Reginald Mims, Dak should get an extension. Minus the playoff disaster, he has been consistent during his current contract. Every year, if people try to make claims, he's not a top 10 quarterback, and every year ends up proving them wrong. I think that's valuable. Now, if you believe you need a top 5 guy, okay, it's a different conversation there, and I think a more argumentative one that has some credence to the other side of not being that guy. But Let me put it this way. If you had just gotten the deals done earlier, no one would be in this conversation point, and we'd all probably be feeling pretty decently. But they dragged their feet at the beginning, and they're still reaping the negative benefits or the negative downsides as a result. DeLunatic, FSU receiver in the first. That's Keon Coleman. What position in round 2? Can you find a good offensive lineman? Can you get a linebacker that you like? Kind of depends on how the board all falls, for me at least. Now we have our super chat menu here. I'm going to ask you guys type L's in the comment section. You did skip rebuild super chat. Yeah. This came in around the same time between the two from Ecuador man at 4:19 Eastern. So L's in the chat. We'll answer it now here. By the way, we will get Reginald Mims 2 entries into that mini helmet giveaway here. If I can copy. Oh, you'll cut it in? We will put it in. Okay, then I'll give it a nice little pause around it so it's not too chaotic there. $5 from Rebuild. Should we draft a running back? If so, who are your top 3 prospects? I would like to draft one. I'd like to go, round 3 if I had a round 4 pick, sure. So the top 3 guys might not get there for you. So some additional beyond top 3 names. If Trey Benson's my number 1 guy right now, this is all pre-combine, which will change some stuff. If he were healthy, Jonathan Brooks would have been my guy out of Texas, but he's got the ACL. It's a big red flag for me. After that, maybe it's Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Guys like Michigan's Blake Corum stand out. Will Shipley from Clemson's a fun piece. I think that kind of between your round 2, round 3 picks might be the heavy sweet spot for a bunch of backs going off the board. All right, super chat menu. $10. Bob Lilly mini helmet entry. So we got 2 of those in for Reginald Mims. Appreciate his super chat that came in. $50. I'll do a beer bong. Get a little bit hammered on, or at least tipsy a little bit, because there are no more games to do, but I can do beer bongs during our regular weekly shows. Most 50s in February, by the way, get that off screen, does get a custom Cowboys jersey of your choosing. The deal of the day, by the way, is also 2 for 1 on the mini helmet entries. So you put in the 10, it actually counts double on that front with where we're at so far, which I appreciate when you guys do that. Makes things entertaining for me, and I think for you guys as well. The pin poll today is this. Do you want Dak Prescott as the Cowboys quarterback? About what I thought it would be. 71% say yes, 29% say no. Maybe one day I'll do would you just restructure Dak's deal? Because I'm a big no on that. I'm either paying him and making this my little window right now, or I'm starting my rebuild. I do not want to go down that route. I think that's a terrible idea. It's not going to work. It's just running it back when there's no need to run it. When running it back is not going to work. I might have been a little bit more open to that, in general, if they'd just been like, hey, we're going to go that route, and we were close last year, which then you would be extending him anyway. If you'd won some playoff games and made it a championship game. Make your decision. You should know by now. Super chat from DeLunatic, $10 total or added up? We can count the added up there, DeLunatic. We'll give you the entry there, or the 2 entries, I should say. Also, make Mozzie fat again, and what other DT can we add? You can add a bunch of defensive tackles in free agency or the draft. There's a lot of great options in both spots. So insert whatever fatty or 3 technique you want. You can find somebody. Ecuador man, despite a losing record despite a losing record, WTF, regular season champ. You need better playoff results. What's entertaining is, or I think just the reality of it, not many quarterbacks who are going to win a bunch of consistent playoff games. It's the Hall of Famers who do that. It's your Mahomeses. By the way, as a non-Cowboys angle, good thing Lamar Jackson won that first playoff game, or it'd have been real bad. Because it's the exact same conversation. The difference is, one defense was really good, one kind of cratered in the postseason. I agree with Echo Doorman's overall point here. And the quarterback gets the majority of the blame because that's just how this works anyway. I need better playoff results. I think we would all lose more regular season games if it meant more playoff games that are wins. How do you figure out going about doing that? That's a harder question to answer than some of the other ones we discuss here, but that's got to be the path this team pursues. And figure out how to do it, good conversation to have. Not easy, and the quarterback is the big part to figure that out. We're breaking down a new Cowboys 7-round mock draft from your boy. This time, we've got trades in there because I love wheeling and dealing in the draft. I even tried more trades than what we ended up settling on here, but the other mock draft sim, PFN, wasn't being cooperative with taking my maybe unfair trade offers. If you guys want even more NFL draft videos, then type me in the comment section right now. I think that's everybody, I would hope. If so, sound off right now. All right, so notable players off the board in round one. Johnny Newton's gone to the Bengals. Bucks trade up for Chop Robinson. And 3 players in a row, I liked. Taliesin Fuaga, Jackson Powers Johnson is gone. Kool-Aid McKinstry is gone. A.D. Mitchell goes to the Texans, by the way, out of Texas. But some very notable prospects on the board here when I'm on the clock at pick number 24. 2 good corners, Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean. Brian Thomas is there. I thought about that one too. 2 offensive tackles, Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton. I would be pretty comfortable with any of those 5 guys, plus maybe 1 or 2 more that were on the board. And it just so happens the Raiders, who have been wheeling and dealing throughout this mock draft sim, have called, and they've made a hell of an offer. I get a first and a third-round pick to trade down 5 spots. So I get 29 and pick number 77. I can add an impact player, and I move down 5 spots. I'm going to do it. That is a no-brainer for me, and I will gamble on one of the guys I still like being there. Several of them did go off the board. The Raiders jumped up for Graham Barton, which it's a sim. I was surprised by it. Cooper DeJean is off the board. Nate Wiggins is off the board. Brian Thomas goes off the board. Byron Murphy out of Texas goes off the board. That means both of my tackles are there still. Now, I will make note before we make this pick. The Niners called at pick number 31, and they wanted to jump up 2 spots for another top 100 pick. But a lot of my guys are gone. I don't want to risk losing another offensive lineman, so I'm going to stay pat and pick Amarius Mims out of Georgia at number 29 overall. And by the way, I was right to do that because the Ravens and Niners in this sim both took offensive linemen. So I would have missed on Mims and Guyton, I think, had I moved down. Mims is a raw but very gifted tackle. I think he can play left side despite only playing right tackle at Georgia. He has not played much football. We're talking barely a season's worth of college football snaps, but the size, the athletic ability, the traits, the stuff we've seen in a very small sample size is incredibly intriguing. So I'm going to take Mims, put him on the left side, opposite Tyler Smith. If he struggles there, or I want to give him more time and I re-sign Tyron Smith, I can always try him on the right side down the road and replace Terrence Steele with him, or replace him for Terrence Steele. Who do you want to draft in round 1? Go ahead and sound off for me in the comment section right now. At the pinned comment, if the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. All right, round 2. I will say, I was trying to jump up into this range, a couple spots to jump up for one player in particular. My offers were all rejected. I wasn't going to move up too much. I was trying to kind of win the deal. But Devondre Sweat's gone. Malachi Corley's gone. Edgerrin Cooper. Eagles got Corley, McKinstry, and Cooper. It's a pretty good haul for them. I was frankly shocked and maybe unrealistic outcome. Zach Frazier is on the board for me in round 2. This is a no-brainer pick. And I would not be shocked if he goes 30 picks earlier than what he goes here. Frazier missed some time last year with a broken leg. It was a late game play. He broke it, and instead of making the team call timeout or having the clock run off, he crawled off the field, which coaches are going to go nutty over. This is a Dan Campbell football player through and through. I think a plug-and-play option at center who can give you some more physicality, give you some toughness, and I think I fixed my offensive line and now made it a real strength with my first 2 picks here. Others on the board here: Trey Benson, Braylon Trice, Patrick Paul, Jalen Polk, and I'll trigger you by putting in a Michigan defensive lineman because I'm a jerk and I'm a sick person. If I didn't go lineman in round 1, Patrick Paul could stand out as a developmental left tackle option behind, in theory, Tyron Smith. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. If you're trying to buy tickets for a sporting event, for a comedy show, for a theater for you and your girl, or whatever, Game Time is the place to go. If you're in the Dallas area, Stars tickets, pretty damn affordable still. Mavs tickets, maybe getting a bit more expensive as we move forward. But there are some deals, zone deals, flash deals, and sponsored deals on tickets via Game Time, helping you save money. Plus, you can save $20 by using promo code CowboysChat when you create your account and download the Game Time app. $20 off your first purchase. Look, terms do apply, but create your account and redeem code COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. The link and the promo code will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Simply go to GameTime.co, download the app, create your account. Bottom right, you'll see profile. Click it. You'll see redeem code in the middle of the screen on the leftish side, and plug in COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off. Into round 3. Remember, I got 2 picks now in the 3rd round. Bucky Irving off the board. Roman Wilson off the board. Bo Brady's a fun piece out of Maryland. Cedric Gray off the board. Thought about linebacker. Thought about running back, receiver. In the 3rd round with an extra pick, I can be a little bit more gambly. And I'm going to take maybe the most talented linebacker in this class, off-ball-wise. That's Peyton Wilson at NC State. The film, the numbers, the metric, all of it are great, except for the medical concerns. Double-digit surgeries on Wilson over his football career. That's a red flag. The Sean Lee comp is one he will not beat as far as I'm concerned. But he's always around the football. 138 tackles. He's averaging over 10 tackles a game. A ton of TFLs, sacks, pass breakups. He's a great football player. Do you trust the medicals? It's one of those that your team doctor is going to make that decision for you. Others on the board. All right. Trevin Wallace is my next best linebacker. I didn't want to risk on having one of those guys not get to me in the 3rd round, so I'm going to later on. So I'm going to jump on the backer now. Michael Hall was sliding. I thought about that one. 2 backs are there: Braylon Allen and Blake Corum. And Xavier Leggett was a very intriguing piece as well. If I was going to go offense, but if I've gone offense heavy, I'll go defense there with my first 3rd round pick. Some other picks before I go back on the clock, 10 picks later here. Braylon Allen and Xavier Leggett and Michael Hall all go 3 in a row. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that, they're all gone. Tez Walker also gone. So I'm going to go with my next best running back. That's Blake Corum out of Michigan. He's not the typical size the Cowboys like. He's shorter, but a little bit thicker, but an incredibly productive runner, and I think would fit very well in this Cowboys offense. And the numbers are eye-popping. If you want someone who's got a nose for the end zone, Blake Corum's your guy. 27, 18, and 11 touchdowns the past 3 seasons. Helps when you're the goal line back. I do have some concerns about the pass catching. Now, you can pair him with a pass catching back, and I think we're fine. But 3rd round, yeah, with 2 third-round picks, I like going back here. Others on the board, again, I thought about Chris Abrams-Drain out of Missouri. That'd be a fun pick for Mike Zimmer. 2 other back was Audric Estime, but I don't know if the juice is there for him. I think he might be more of a battering ram guy. Braden Fisk was an intriguing defensive lineman. Keep an eye on Austin Booker's name as we go through the combine here. I think he could really, really impress. And Mikey Samerstow was my kind of corner. Undersized, scrappy as hell, physical, nickel. Would be a great Jordan Lewis replacement, but I got too many needs right now. Speaking of needs, what do you think will end up being the bigger draft need for the Cowboys? LB or RB, linebacker, running back? Sound off in the comments. No fourth-round pick. And I will say, I was trying to trade up to get a wide receiver in the 5th, and I couldn't find a team to take it, and I was trying to trade all my 7th-round picks for another 6th, and no one would take it either, so I just said, screw it, I'll keep them. Justin Aboisby is my pick here in the 5th round. It's not common you get an undervalued Bama defensive lineman. I think we have one here. If I had just showed you these stats, 64 tackles, 12 TFLs, 7 sacks, like, wow, that's great production. That's going to be a top 100 pick, right? He still might be. I think the value's great. He can stop the run, can be a good maybe like long-term Tank Lawrence replacement for you, and you need some more run-stopping pieces on your defensive line as well. It's a Mike Zimmer Day 3 draft pick show here. We'll go with another linebacker. I do think doubling down could make a lot of sense for this team. It is out of Notre Dame, Maurice Liufau. Liufau, I think is how it's pronounced. Liufau, that's how it is. I got the pronunciation in front of me, and I'm an idiot. Not the most eye-popping production, but I thought was a very solid player for the Fighting Irish this past year. You're in round 6. You're out to the top 100. Remember your goals here. Your goals are depth. Maybe you get lucky every few years and find a new DeRon Bland. If he can be your linebacker 4 and be better than Devin Harper, boom, there we go. We will have a ton of Cowboys NFL draft coverage for you right here on the channel. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Hit that sub button right now. I'm going sleeper picks here in the 7th round. Gabriel Murphy, who you local Dallas fans might know from his time at North Texas, I think could profile as a sub-package pass rusher. And with 2 free agents, including Dante Fowler, that's a position you could look to. Kind of every other year impact. Didn't do much in his first year at USF after transferring from North Texas, but 16 TFLs, 8 sacks this year. That's better than what he was at North Texas in his best year. And I like it when a guy transfers to a better level of competition and has more success. Again, the early mock draft sims they're all kind of wonky. And I think we could dock off, 75 picks worth, and that might be more along the lines of where Murphy ends up going or even earlier. 7th round, Anthony Gould out of Oregon State. Again, we're at the back end of the 7th round here. This is an undersized wide receiver who brings you a different profile than what you have beyond Kevontae Turpin. Can play some slot, can offer you some speed, offers you return value. You can let Gould and Turpin fight for the special teams role, wide receiver 5 role, and maybe Gould brings you more as a receiver than Turpin has brought you so far. Again, we're in the 7th round. We're just trying to take some dart throws here and see if those 7th rounders can materialize as pieces, and you might be able to get them down to the practice squad anyway. So to recap, Amarius Mims, Zach Frazier, Peyton Wilson, Blake Corum, Justin Aboisby, Notre Dame's Maurice Liufau, Gabriel Murphy, and Anthony Gould. Grade the mock draft for me. I think it's rigged in my favor because the mock draft sims, I can take advantage of them. I think all those guys could be gone before reaction on the clock. But what do you think? A, B, C, D, or F? Sound off in the comments section. We'll get some shout-outs here as well. And the super chat too. C, B minus, C minus, B plus. B plus. Okay, I feel better now that I'm not seeing as many C's in there. B plus, B minus, A. Thank you, Vince. Oh, man gave me a D. B plus, B minus, C, B minus, B plus, B, B. Okay, I will take B's. I will take B's. Ecuador man, trade down and take Tyler Nubin from Minnesota. Where does he get picked? It's a great question. I think he is the best safety in this year's class, and you don't have to convince me to take a safety. You guys know how much I love safety play. I maybe late round 1, early-ish round 2 is the path that you would pursue there. Good name, though. If only they had listened to me and take Brian Branch last year. I knew they weren't going to, but wouldn't it have been awesome. Anyway, Nubin offers you kind of more of the free safety mold. It'd be a Malik Hooker upgrade there. I think it would be really, really intriguing. If you have not already, please subscribe. Free videos for you guys every single day right here on the channel. And we'll put, let's call it 2 minutes here on the clock. Last calls for Super Chats. Then we will sign off and end today's live show because we are very much in danger of not beating the Giants. And the fat lady has sung two courses already because we're way behind on that. Again, $10 Bob Lilly mini helmet raffle entry. I'm going to put Ecuador Man in for 2 more because I think he's got 10 combined. And we did it for the lunatic, so should do it for all. $50 beer bong. Have some fun. Most 50s in February. We might extend this by 1 more day because we're not planning on being live on Monday because we're going to be combine traveling that day. I have a video for you guys still that day. Most 50s get a custom jersey. And the deal today is a 2-for-1 mini helmet. So you get 2 entries for every $10 that you put in. Here are the Super Chats this week. $110 so far for the Cowboys. Giants at $426. It's not great. Not great. We're going to lose. I'm not feeling good about it, Chris. Marshall's going to get to make fun of me for the first time in a long time. We will go to Loop here. Here's what's coming up on Loop. Cowboys news and rumors, Dak and free agency conversation there. Surprise cut candidates. We'll break down those and look at some names that I don't think get cut, but possible, I suppose. A mailbag and the Cowboys 7-round mock draft with trades. If you haven't already, make sure you're subbed as we go to Loop right now. Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, free agency talk. We're going to spend a lot of time on the Dak Prescott contract situation. You've probably seen some maybe outlandish numbers, maybe some propaganda from both sides put out there. I think we break down the pros and cons of this contract situation pretty well in today's video. So help us out by sharing the video to your other Cowboys friends. As it's been every year of his career, because that's how it goes along with being the Cowboys quarterback, an extension for Dak Prescott remains fairly controversial. The latest, column, I'll call it, from David Moore, the Dallas Morning News, maybe showcases the Cowboys' thoughts, given the fact there are plenty of accusations out there that David Moore is often a mouthpiece for the Joneses, specifically Steven, in the organization. Here's what David wrote Thursday morning. The question the Cowboys face isn't whether the organization wants Dak Prescott to remain their quarterback into the future. It does. The question whether the club can reconcile what it will cost to go forward with a quarterback who has been unable to lead the team past the divisional round of the playoffs, that's a more complicated discussion. To be frank, no, it's not. And I will dispute that point many, many times here. If you think Dak is the guy you want as your franchise quarterback, then you probably need to get it done now. Otherwise, you're doing the exact same mistake you made last time of letting it go far too long and losing every negotiating point when you could have saved yourself significant money previously. I'm sure you've seen those 60 million reports out there. I don't know if it's true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. In the end, your quarterback has all the leverage because you can't tag him. And spoiler alert, second team all-pros at quarterback don't ever hit the open market. That's pretty much unheard of. The 60 million, I honestly think it's because 60 sounds sexier than 56. 56 would make Dak the highest paid quarterback, which he's technically tied for 10th now on that list. Because you can wind back the clock to anyone who's talking contract stuff around any quarterback the past 7 years. The quarterback market only goes up. It continues to rise. It is the most important position. It's not the only reason why you're going to win games or lose games, and it is still a team sport at the end. But when you have a top 10 quarterback, and we have to start the conversation there, we can't be having this Dak is actually terrible, trade him for 2 first-round picks conversation. We have to be able to start at the same grounds of he's a top 10 quarterback. And getting one of those is the hard part. We can justifiably be upset with the slow starts in the playoffs, the lack of overall team success in the postseason, not just in Dak's tenure, but this entire Cowboys franchise the past nearly 30 years now. And in the end, your quarterback has all the leverage in these negotiations. And it just kind of sounds like some of this reporting or column writing, whatever, is the Cowboys know that a little bit and are trying to angle, well, we have another card we can play, which we'll get into and would not be a good card to play. So before we move on here, do you want Dak Prescott as the Cowboys QB? Based on previous live polls, I'd guess this is going to be around 75% yes, but sound off. Why for yes and for no at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, the kind of speculative angle I'm looking at here from David Moore is it says the Cowboys are considering just restructuring the Dak Prescott contract. They have void years built in. They can kick that can down the road a little bit if they want to, which they can do, although I'm not sure this is a very good idea. Dak's cap hit right now is $59.46 million. You don't want that figure that high. You're not going to be able to build the caliber of team for, I would argue, almost any quarterback, even Mahomes, who did play with a pretty high cap hit this past year, at that figure. Certainly not Dak Prescott. The restructured cap hit brings down to $37.6 million. The dead money, though, would then be $58 in 2025, so basically flipping the dead money and the cap hit this year versus next year. The problem is you have no control over keeping Dak Prescott then. And if you don't want to pay the quarterback after a second-team All-Pro season, does he want to be around at that stage? Here's what David Moore wrote. You can say the Cowboys must keep Prescott and sign him to an extension. You can land on the other side of the argument, i.e., move on from him. You can kick the can down the road for another season. Whatever stance you take, you should acknowledge this is a reasonable, responsible conversation. It's the conversation taking place right now at the Star. I do not acknowledge that as a reasonable, responsible conversation. In fact, I would argue kicking the can down the road is the least responsible thing this organization could do this offseason. You need to make your decision. You have more than enough evidence on either side of that debate to make up your mind. You have two viable options here. Option one, pay him and be aggressive. Set up a new 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever year window it is. It's not going to be 10, by the way. I think Steve might have said that once, which was ludicrous. Pay him, be aggressive, actually sign somebody in free agency, and try to win games now. Or pull the ripcord, move on, and rebuild. Both of those options are far more desirable than the Dallas Cowboys trying to pursue a path of doing nothing and going, well, we'll just get the can down the road. That's not a good path. It's not a good idea. If you want to keep Dak Prescott, you cannot let him hit NFL free agency because that's what happens. You have no franchise tag, and you would be in a very unique spot of having a quarterback coming off, even if it's a similar year, let's say it's a Pro Bowl caliber year, a second-team All-Pro quarterback, still in the midst of his athletic prime, by the way, hitting the open market. Good quarterbacks, even close, not good, don't hit free agency. The closest we saw was the Commanders with Kirk Cousins, and they're still looking for a competent quarterback. If they could do it all over, they would have paid Kirk the first time because they would have been a playoff team. And Dak's better than Kirk Cousins is. We will come back to the money argument. There's understandable sticker shock involved here. More on that in a second. But today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to whatever next event you're going to. Sporting, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. It's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for that event. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They've also got zone deals, and good news, folks, there is a zone deal available, at least for now. I'd say we did it, but it wasn't really us. Anthony McMillan, a $500 super chat. Screw the rest of the loop. We'll celebrate this one. We'll do some shots and some beer bongs. Anthony McMillan, we're taking down Giants this week. $500 super chat. Everyone spam Anthony in the comment section. Spam it. Let's start chugging. Anthony coming through.
Let's go, baby.
I am going to decide that Anthony gets the custom jersey.
Absolutely.
So, Anthony, email me, tom@chatsports.com, or DM me at whatgoingdowny on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Anthony McMillan. Everyone spam AN in the comment section. We'll also give Anthony a ton of the Bob Lilly mini helmet entries, and we'll put a bunch of his names on the beer bong here. So I'm going to do 4 beer bongs. Chris can do a couple.
Okay.
We'll do, it's a 500 in February. Let's ride.
Let's go,
Spam
baby.
Anthony.
Big Money McMillan, baby, coming in hot. Coming in hot. Brought us back.
Marshall can suck it. Everyone spam F Marshy. Let's mix in some shots here too. Why not?
Going big right now. Hit that like button, baby. Subscribe right now. This is what happens when you guys come through for us.
If anyone was out of context, they would really think I was an alcoholic.
I haven't seen Anthony back in the chat, though.
He did it.
It's like he just sent it and dipped. Anthony, if you're still here, man, get in the chat.
Claim some love. Let me see if I have his email here or not. Anthony McMillan, $500 super chat. 1 beer bong down. Let me see if I feel like I've emailed Anthony before. Let me check. Oh, I've got his email. We're good. I've got his email. We're set.
Nice.
Anthony, you're the MVP. Everyone spam MVP.
MVP in the chat right now, baby.
You want to do a beer bong, Chris?
Yeah, I'll do one.
You can do one. Woo! One hand opening, not the best. All right. There's 2. Coming up, number 3. Bottoms up, let's ride. That one was not my smoothest. You want to shotgun it? That's fine. Woo! Just don't spill it. like a freshman. All right. One more. 4 beer bongs, a shotgun, and a big old swig. I think is worthwhile. As Anthony helps us take down Giants this week. Everyone spam Anthony. Oh, good, smart man doing it over the trash can. Not a freshman move right there. Here we go.
See how this one goes. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Woo! Well done. Well done. Anthony is the MVP. MVP of the show, Anthony. If you're not watching, I guess either way, I will email you. We'll get your shipping info. We'll give you the custom jersey. Give you a bunch of beer bong stickers and a bunch of entries into the mini helmet as well. Thank you, Anthony. Obviously, going back to loot makes 0 sense because that'd be kind of weird and awkward. So we will instead sign off today. See you guys again. Woo! Anthony's in the chat. There he is. Anthony, there he is. Says, how about them Cowboys? I'll email you, Anthony, and I'll get you set up for the custom jersey. The previous high was 150. This is by definition 10. So Anthony wins. So custom jersey coming to you, Anthony. We'll give you a bunch of helmet entries, and you're going to see your name on here a lot, or maybe just AM is what we'll put on there, because it's a small sticker. I don't think your name will fit on there. But thank you, Anthony, for being the MVP, helping us take down Giants. Cheers to you, my friend. And we'll see you and everyone else throughout the week. We'll be combine coverage coming for you here as well on the Cowboys Report.